welcome to Let Them Talk. I'm your host, Paul DiRienzo, and we have a great show in store for you. Welcoming back Jeff Adler. Welcome back, and remember what a great show. It's been a few years, but it was a great show when you were here last. And you're with the Hevreh Ensemble, which is releasing a new CD, and we'll be talking more about that, A Path of Light, and we'll be seeing some examples of your of the group and its work. And also, you have an event that's coming up. A record release, right, for this record. Right. I guess they call them records, CD or whatever. Yeah. And that release looks like a hot party, and it's going to be at the DROM, 85 Avenue A, between
5th and 6th.
5th and 6th Street. And on Wednesday, May 22nd at 7 p.m. And we'll be reminding you and giving you information. You can get info at dromnyc.com. And so what you've been up to, Jeff Adler, and for the last couple of years?
Okay, well, the group has really started to take off. We've done a lot of pretty cool things since I saw you last. We did a nice gig at Newport Festival, which is pretty prestigious. Past summer, we were invited to do something at the Krakow International Jewish Festival, which is a really big thing.
Mm-hmm. Krakow's in Poland, right?
In Poland, yeah. That was actually our second trip to Poland. We've been to Europe 5 times. And so we have a lot of really fun things coming up. We're going to Argentina. We're going to China next year. So getting around.
Great. Well, what is the Hevreh Ensemble exactly? What kind of instruments? What kind of music?
Okay,
we're going to play a tape in a minute, but
all right.
Give us the intro.
The one thing I should say is that I've written all the music for the Hevreh Ensemble. All the music we've ever done has been written by me. It's basically a quartet, although we do add guest artists. And on the CD, there's plenty of guest artists. But basically, I play the bass clarinet and a lot of Native American flutes. We have Laurie Friedman playing clarinet, some Native American flutes, and shofar. Laurie is an incredible shofar player.
What's a shofar?
It's an ancient instrument. It's a ram's horn.
The ram's horn.
The ram's horn,
okay.
And all it is a ram's horn. That's the edge is cut off, and she can make some gorgeous sounds out of that. We tend to do that in almost all of our concerts, although not in DROM. It's coming up. Right. And we have Judith Dansker playing oboe, English horn, and some native flute, and Anna Morrison is our keyboard pianist. And it gives us a really good balance because Adam is an incredible jazz player. And, I come from both worlds, and Laurie and Judy are mostly coming from the classical world, but, we just blend things together. And it's a very interesting, unique sound. Let's put it that way.
Well, we have an example queued up, and maybe we'll go watch that and come back in a couple of minutes. So here's the sample, then we're going to come back in 3 minutes, and stay tuned because we're going to be playing. Jeff is going to be playing the flute, the Native American flute, and it's very, very interesting. So come, stay with us. We're going to watch what this group does, the Hevreh Ensemble. is the Hevreh Ensemble, and our guest is Jeff here, who is Adler, who is you saw that playing the
bass clarinet.
Bass clarinet. Is that what it is? Right. I was going to call it the wrong thing, but
yeah.
The bass clarinet. Cool. And and you wrote all the music.
I did.
Right, right. And what was that we saw, actually, just briefly?
Well, that was a concert I guess we did a number of years ago at DROM, and we actually like DROM a lot. The sound man is great, and it's a nice place. The audience is right up there near you, and I guess they serve some pretty good drinks, although I don't drink and play at the same time.
Well, and the DROM is, of course, 85 Avenue A, and the CD release concert for your CD, your new CD, Path of Light, is coming up Wednesday, May 22nd, 2019 at 7 p.m. And we have a second piece, a shorter piece, and let's listen to that, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to play some live music here in the studio. Wow, that was pretty interesting. What was that? Was interesting. That was Poland, right? We were talking about that.
Yeah. We had that was a presentation, a multimedia thing we had done with a photographer, author, Loli Cantor. Basically, Loli was looking for her roots, basically, and she knew she had some Eastern European, Polish roots that she had never really been in touch with, and she did a lot of research and went to a lot of the towns where some of her ancestors were from. A lot of them are still pretty poor, and it was not only Poland, but I guess Ukraine, a lot in the Ukraine. Poland itself has become a far wealthier country than it used to be. We were because we did a lot in Poland last summer. We played in Krakow and Lublin and Warsaw, and drove from one place to the other. So it was pretty impressive how they've fixed that country up. It's really, to my mind, really a first world country at this point. But they had invited us to do this presentation. Loli was a fan of my music, and she said, "Well, let's see, can you do something that fits in with these photos?" I said, "Okay, not that easy, but I'll do it." So we put it together, and it was very successful. We also did just one concert in the States, one or two concerts in the States, and I think we have some coming up in Texas, of all places, in the next few months. So that should be interesting.
Yeah, Texas, great. And so what are some of those images? They were interesting images. I mean, they seemed like they were related to World War II and the Holocaust. And that
well,
kind of thing,
yeah, certainly relating to the Holocaust. I mean, they were taken more recently, of course. They were taken in the last 10 years, I would say. But you know, some places in the world have never recovered from that.
Yeah.
And those are some of the places, very, very downtrodden, poor areas. So.
And there was something about the sound of the music that you were doing. It seemed to have that. It sounded like something out of a shtetl in Poland.
Yeah,
a little bit in
yeah.
this time.
Thank you.
Done with Native American flutes.
Well, you know, I can do different styles. As a matter of fact, on the CD, I do different styles, and you know, I can do Jewish sounds and Native American sounds and jazz sounds and classical sounds and all kinds of stuff. And I like to mix it up because it's far more interesting to me and to the members, to the musicians I play with, and to the audience to mix it up rather than just having the same pieces sound the same.
I imagine the clarinet came first and then the Native American flutes, or did
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've been seriously involved with Native American flutes since about 1995, actually. So that's a long time, and I've gotten to know some really great people being flute makers. But I've especially gotten close to a number of Cherokee individuals, and I've grown to love a lot of the Cherokee traditions and culture and spirituality. I think it's fascinating and really warm and terrific.
And they had their experience with the Trail of Tears, of course, where Andrew Jackson forced them to leave their homes in a terrible forced march across the country to Oklahoma, right, where they lost their homes. And
now, the people I've basically got to meet were the Eastern Cherokees. So those are the people who didn't really, some of them experienced the Trail of Tears, some of their ancestors, and some of those people either left, snuck away in the middle of the night, or got to Oklahoma, said there's nothing here, and came back. A lot of them hid in the mountains, because the Smoky Mountains are there, and I don't know if you've ever seen the Smoky.
Sure, I've driven through them anyway.
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty easy to find a hiding spot there. So a lot of the Eastern Cherokee ancestors hid in the mountains, and just, you know, had settlements and stuff, but very far away from Andrew Jackson's eyes.
Yeah, right, I bet. And you have, so we're talking to Jeff Adler, our guest from the Hevreh Ensemble, returning guest, and he is releasing, the group is releasing their new CD, Path of Light, and the Path of Light and the release party is coming up on May 22nd, Wednesday, 7 p.m. at DROM, 85 Avenue A, and you can go to dromnyc.com for more information. That said, you brought one of your native flutes, which
I did.
is such a beautiful thing. I saw you playing it in the video before.
Yeah, and actually I was playing that flute. I actually forgot what was in that video. I was going to play the same piece. But let me explain a little bit about how this works and why this, you know, the Native American flute, they're a little bit different throughout the country, especially in the materials they use. And the original ancient flutes, I mean, these flutes go back at least 10,000 years, which is pretty old. A lot of the original ones were made out of hollowed out deer bones. I've never heard of those, but, you know, I can't imagine them sounding all that great. But in any case, they were, you know, very popular. DeSoto, back when he was exploring the southern United States and came across Cherokee tribes, and he was greeted by 300 flute players, at least according to his words. I don't know if he was exaggerating, but 300 flutes playing at once, not bad.
Yeah.
The main difference between this, let's say, and a recorder or any kind of European instrument is the fact that you blow through this hole up here, and instead of immediately hitting a fipple like on a recorder, the air has to travel all the way down and comes up through what we call the bird over here, and then comes out, and then the air is split by these two holes here. So this is a drone flute, meaning two sounds at once. I'll play this sound, which is a B. No matter what I do, is all I'm going to get is a B. On this side, together,
that's how they get that sound. It's not two people playing; it's one person.
It's
playing.
one person. I actually, this was built by my regular flute maker, Danny Begay, who's Cherokee, living in Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, and he is actually also a very good friend of mine, and he makes all my flutes. I have a lot of his flutes, so every flute that you'll hear on the CD, or if you come see us at DROM, every flute that we play was made by Danny Begay. And I have another flute, which is a double drone, which is a unique flute, which I didn't bring. I should have, but I didn't.
Well, next time you come,
okay,
hopefully we make more albums and have more. You can come bring that one.
That's our plan. That's our plan.
All right, great. So how is that made? What is it made out of? What kind of wood is that? Is it one kind of wood? It looks like.
Yeah, well, this is, I think, walnut up here, and then eastern cedar, or maybe it's western cedar, and walnut here. He uses the walnut. It's not really changing the sound so much, but it's just, it gives it a very pretty look, which is part of it. I mean, you know, some people just buy these as decoration.
Is this being made as it would have been made hundreds of years ago, or is this a modern design?
Not exactly. The design itself is the way it would have been made, although probably not as beautifully made, because although he makes things by hand, you know, the tools they have nowadays are far superior. But what I insist upon are flutes that play in tune with Western instruments. Otherwise, I couldn't use them.
Right.
You know, I incorporate it in a lot of my writing, and if they're playing out of tune, I mean, it's hard enough to play in tune with these things. You really sometimes depend. They're very. It's very dependent on the temperature.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
excuse me.
The wood is affected by the temperature?
Yes, yes, certainly. So in the summertime, the flutes get pretty sharp, and that means I'm working twice as hard to try and get them in tune, because I can't, like on a clarinet or a bass clarinet, if you're sharp, you pull out, you're okay. There's nothing to pull out on this one.
Right,
so
right. How do you do it on this one? How do you?
You open up your throat more and like that more.
Wow.
And
but these don't move the top of the bird, you called it.
It can move. It doesn't really affect the pitch that much. It might affect it really in a minor way. The reason, basically, it's designed the way it was. This is, you know, leather, and it's just tied. These things are tied onto the flute, so it's not as if it's glued on. It's tied on, so it does move, and the leather stretches, and so sometimes I have to. I mean, a lot of my flutes, I got to retie them, so that makes it move around. But depending on also on the weather, if you move it up or down, will give you a better sound. That's why before we started the show, I was fiddling around to see if the best sound I could get.
Well, I see. Well, do you want to try and play something a little more?
A little more upbeat.
Yeah, a little upbeat thing for us. Yeah.
You heard this on the tape, on the DROM tape, but it still works.
Wow, beautiful.
Thanks.
Wow. And what is a Native American sound? How does that was sort of
This is sort of a jazzy sound.
That's a jazz sound, right?
Yeah.
Okay, do you ever actually play in the Native American style?
I can sort of imitate, but I try not to. Because a question I often get is, what do Native Americans think about you using their instruments? And my answer is, well, listen, you know, clarinets were made or invented in Belgium, and the Belgian people don't seem to be offended that I use that instrument. I said, I'm using this instrument as a show of respect, not to try and rip you off. And I understand they feel like a lot of their things have been stolen from them. But I try not to play in their style, because it's their style, and I respect that. So I play and write in my own way. But you know, it's much more vibrato and a lot more bending notes than I'm usually doing. And it's harder to do on a drone flute anyway. On the single tone flute, it's much easier to do.
I see.
So.
Now, how exactly did you come to this kind of flute, the Native American style flute? What's the story of your coming to it?
Well, the quick story is back in the mid-'90s, I suffered a semi-serious ear injury. I was, just playing a lot of orchestral and Broadway things on the clarinet and flute and bass clarinet and saxophone.
Professionally, like you were? You were in the pit at a show?
Exactly. Right. And I got exposed to something really loud, and it set off my left ear so that I had something called hyperacusis really pretty seriously. So it meant...
Was it a bass drum or a cymbal?
No, believe it or not, it was a bunch of brass players playing really loud, really close to my ear. And that's the way it was set up.
They're pretty loud, brass.
Yeah,
they don't go brass for nothing.
Yes, exactly. So, so it was a period of adjustment. My ear it'll never recover the way it used to be, but it's recovered a great deal since then. But at that time, even playing clarinet was bothering it. I was like putting an earplug in to even play clarinet. And just wandering around, believe it or not, in an indoor powwow in Park Slope, I just heard somebody playing a flute. And I said, that's not hurting my ear at all, and I love that sound. And that's really how I got started. And it went from there, and then I just fell in love with the instrument and started writing for it, and, the rest is history.
Right. And how did the Hevreh Ensemble come to be?
Well, Judith Dansker was actually the one who formed it. She had a ceremony or a service she wanted us to play. She invited me and Laurie to play in, and in a temple up in Great Barrington, and actually it was called the Hevreh. The temple was Hevreh, and that's how.
What does Hevreh mean? Does it mean?
It means circle of friends, friendship. So we said, that's cool, and I actually ended up writing a piece for it. And the congregation loved it so much that, the response was overwhelmingly positive, that I said, well, you know what, there might be a future to this thing. Let's start doing some stuff.
Right.
And so that's how that came about.
Right, and now you're on your fourth record, the Hevreh Ensemble, Path to Light, and A Path of Light. A Path of Light, to the light. Stay away from the light. And you're going to be having the CD release concert Wednesday, May 22nd, 7 p.m. at DROM, 85 Avenue A downstairs between 5th and 6th Street. And you can get more information at dromnyc.com. So that's coming up. And so do you play klezmer music?
Well,
because you mentioned...
the group, that, as you heard in one of the tapes, there's some pieces that have elements of klezmer. I wouldn't exactly call it. It was like klezmer influenced, let's say, but they're not pure klezmer, and they're more the compositions are more complex than, say, a klezmer piece is. Right. But as far as the group really, we have a little bit of taste of klezmer, but we're not a klezmer group.
Right.
So, and a lot of
obviously,
people,
a lot more complicated than polka music, basically. Jewish polka music, right. Which is beautiful.
And so,
fun to hear and fun to dance
and some groups are incredible doing it, and I have the utmost respect for those people who play it well. But that's not what we do.
Right, so. And the other thing I was going to think of is, because it sounds a lot like Zydeco and what they play in those bands down in New Orleans. I've seen like...
Well, this all, where do the influences come? It's hard to say because, as a musician, you're always listening.
Right.
I like to listen to all kinds of things, like music from India, music from China, and music
I can tell that, those influences.
Yeah, right. And, music from Haiti and Jamaica, and all kinds of things. So when I set out to write a piece, I don't set out to say, I'm going to write a Haitian-style piece. I'm just writing music.
I love their music. Yeah. I've been to Haiti, and I've listened to music there. It's amazing.
It's very cool.
Very cool music. Okay, great. Last minute and a half. Of course, the Hevreh Ensemble, Path to Light, that is available where all fine CDs are available wherever that is. Tower Records.
Yeah, we'll see. There's no Tower Records anymore.
No Tower Records, right?
But you know, we're on Amazon and CD Baby and places like that.
Right, the usual.
And I guess you can go direct to Arnica Records. They've been great for us. The Palmer is the company.
Arnica,
is that
it's on the back here somewhere. Yeah, and Sonica.
And Sonica, I'm sorry.
ANSN Sonica, right?
And
ANSONICA Records, and they are located. I have to take my glasses up to see this. Well, it doesn't say exactly where they're located, but I'm sure you can find it on the internet easily enough.
Yeah, they're on the internet. They're up in
and Sonica Records,
up in New Hampshire, actually.
Right, and especially if you're into like world music, it's a form of world music, and interesting things. And so, what last 20 seconds? Where are you going from here?
Well, after DROM, we have a nice concert up in northwestern Connecticut, and. After that, we have the summer kind of off, but we'll still be
Jeff
rehearsing.
Adler, I'm sure we'll be seeing you next time.
Thank
you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.